Emmerdale has revealed a significant change at Butler's farm, as Moira steps aside and two other residents take charge of managing the property. The development follows the events of tonight's episode, where Moira officially transferred ownership of the farm to the Tates after reaching an agreement with Kim the day before. It has now been announced that Joe will place the farm under the leadership of Robert Sugden, who will run the land together with his partner, Aaron Dingle. This marks the first time in many years that a Sugden will be responsible for Butler's farm, with Robert eager to bring the property back to its former success and continue the legacy left by his father Jack. As part of the fresh start, he plans to reinstall the old farm sign that had previously been removed and rename the property Emmerdale Farm, a tribute to the soap's original title. Both this farm and Dingle Farm are expected to prosper within the village. Moira arranged the agreement with Kim without informing her husband Cain, who is currently battling cancer. After discovering what happened, Cain becomes determined to search for new farmland so Moira can keep working in the career she loves. The show's producer explained that the Sugden family has always played a central role in the village, as they were the original farming family when Emmerdale first began. She added that returning the farm to the Sugden name is a meaningful moment that reflects the early storylines involving Annie Sugden and her sons, Jack and Joe, who once worked the land. Now that Robert has taken over the tenancy, he hopes to prove himself and honour his father's legacy. With the support of his devoted partner Aaron, the couple are ready to begin a new era and are determined to help the farm succeed. Farming continues to be an important part of life in the village, bringing energy, drama, and a breath of fresh air to the stories viewers enjoy. End of an era as Emmerdale's Cain Dingle leaves Butler's farm while major changes unfold. Emmerdale previously warned that Cain Dingle's prostate cancer storyline would permanently alter his life, and viewers are about to witness that promise fulfilled in the most emotional way as the troubled villager finally walks away from Butler's farm. The year has barely begun, yet it has already brought overwhelming heartbreak for the normally tough character known for spending time in the wool pack. His world was turned upside down when doctors diagnosed him with cancer, and at the same time his wife Moira was wrongly accused of crimes linked to a deceased human trafficker. The scheme was secretly orchestrated by Tate, who is determined to gain control of Butler's farm. With Moira now in prison for the time being, Cain is left struggling to handle the farm, raise two sons, face a serious illness, and deal with everything alone. The only person he truly opens up to is Sarah Sugden. Because she has previously survived cancer herself, Sarah becomes the one family member Cain feels able to confide in about his diagnosis. She even helps him try to keep the struggling farm afloat by assisting with a risky act of stealing Tate's car. Despite their efforts, financial problems continue to grow. Bills remain unpaid, pressure from Joe intensifies, and Cain begins to consider whether he has no choice but to let the farm go. During a recent emotional episode, a phone call from Moira in prison leaves him feeling deeply guilty when she thanks him for keeping the farm running while she is away, unaware that everything is close to collapse. The situation becomes even more complicated when the car theft threatens Sarah's marriage to Jacob Gallagher, and Joe warns that he could report the stolen vehicle to the police. Soon after, Cain is forced to face the harsh reality of his health when he notices blood in his urine while at the wool pack. For perhaps the first time in years, Cain is dealing with an enemy he cannot fight or intimidate. His farm is failing, his health is deteriorating, and the burden of protecting his family is becoming too much for him to carry alone. In an intense and emotional prison scene, Cain finally reveals the full truth about his stage 4 prostate cancer to Moira during a visit. Since he had previously tried to reassure her that his illness was nothing serious, Moira is devastated when she learns how advanced the cancer actually is. However, she also feels relieved that her husband has finally shared the truth with her. This heartfelt conversation leads to a painful decision, as Moira agrees that selling Butler's farm to the Tates is the only option left. Upcoming scenes will mark a major turning point when Cain leaves the farm and returns to the famous Dingle cottage, a place he has not lived in for many years. Although he initially resists the idea, Cain eventually agrees to move back in with the Dingle family. Even while others gather at the Woolpack, he finds it difficult to feel any sense of celebration. The emotional moment he feared eventually arrives when Cain packs up and leaves Butler's farm, taking a small keepsake with him as a final memory. Soon afterward, Robert Sugden returns to the property and somewhat awkwardly settles back in. He also offers Matty Barton a job, which feels like the least he can do considering his involvement in the scheme that helped frame Moira through fake invoices created at Joe's request. Later, Cain arrives at the Dingle home with his sons, who struggle to adjust to the sudden move. Determined not to give up, he quickly decides to create a brand new project called Emmerdale Farm. The entire Dingle family rallies behind him, determined to support Cain and his boys as they work together to rebuild their future. Laurel may be the only person who can help Paddy after Bear's major mistake next week. Beowulf made a dramatic return in Emmerdale, looking strong and healthy again, but his recovery quickly caused problems when D.S. Walsh arrived to arrest him for breaking the terms of his bail, leaving Paddy horrified. Things are set to become even more difficult for Paddy in the coming episodes, as spoilers reveal that Bear's actions will have serious consequences for everyone involved. On Friday, March 13th, Paddy received a call from the secure mental health facility informing him that Bear was being considered for release. Although he had only been there for a short time, the treatment he received, including medication and therapy, appeared to have helped him recover quickly. When Paddy arrived at the facility, he found his father in a positive mood and eager to leave. Bear explained that he had come to terms with what Ray and Celia had done to him, and was prepared to answer any further questions from the police. However, Paddy was extremely concerned and begged Bear to pretend he was still unwell so he could avoid going to prison. Bear refused, insisting that he had recovered and was ready to face whatever consequences awaited him. After he returned home, it didn't take long for D.S. Walsh to show up and escort him to the police station. Bear was required to answer more questions regarding Ray's death and was also accused of violating his bail conditions and attacking Jacob. Despite Bear repeatedly claiming he was completely fine, his situation takes a turn for the worse next week, when he faces another intense interview with D.S. Walsh and begins to feel overwhelmed. The detective suggests that Bear's background in wrestling means he likely understood exactly what he was doing when Ray died. Bear strongly denies this claim, but the pressure causes him to lose control of his emotions. During the heated exchange, Bear falsely claims that he killed Ray in order to protect Paddy's reputation. This sudden outburst could create major legal problems because it contradicts his earlier claim of acting in self-defense. Meanwhile, Paddy becomes increasingly anxious about his father and fears what might happen next. At the same time, Paddy is battling serious emotional struggles of his own. The thought of Bear being locked up again after everything Ray and Celia put him through is incredibly painful for him, and he admits the situation feels like his worst nightmare. Emmerdale is broadcast on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available for streaming on ITVX.